It's good to have you join us here today. My name is Smart Adams. Today we'll be talking about something quite interesting, and I am sure you are eager to hear what I have to say, right? Hold on. We will talk about something that will put you on your toes for the next 30 minutes. I have with me in the studio today a very fine gentleman. When I say fine gentleman, I mean every ounce of the word fine. He's a fine gentleman, and we'll talk about a foundation that has taken out time and a lot of resources to build Nigerian youth and youth all over the world, I must say. Because when I was going through the internet and I was reading about them, I was like, wow, we have people like this do things like this. They need to be on top of the roof screaming about it. And that's what I'm going to do justice to today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet my guest today. I will be talking to an ASIAT scholar. When I mean an ASIAT scholar, believe me, you would want to know his educational qualifications, but I'll spare you the boring details about that. He's a quintessential leader, a technocrat, a scholar, an engineer by profession. Well, very paramount and important, he is a father and a husband. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet with me. My engineer, if I was given the authority to install titles on people, I would have loved to add Obong Doctor. Wisdom Enang. Good to have you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for coming today. All right, so let's begin very quickly.
Yeah.
I had said we're going to talk about the foundation, but before we proceed to talk about that foundation, let's talk about the figurehead of that foundation.
Yeah.
All right, so let's keep that on hold and then let's talk about you.
Okay. My name is, you could say, Engineer Dr. Wisdom Patrick Enang. FNSC, which is a Fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. I'm also a chartered engineer with the Institution of Mechanical Engineers in the UK. Some of the things that pop up when you mention the name is someone that represents the continuous strive for excellence, someone that represents a value framework, someone that tries to be very intentional about whatever they're trying to plan and execute. As such, so I'm going past the stage where I've conceptualized some framework. I have implemented the framework on a personal level, and it's yielded results. So it's not just something up in my mind.
It's not imaginative.
It's not imaginative, yeah, and kind of it's been validated in my personality. And now the third and most important stage is to now roll that out to people. Create a system that will surpass me, a system that will create someone even better than myself. That's what I wish to do. So the brand I represent is that of hard work. Now, when it comes to why we're here, which is to talk about the foundation, basically, I've looked at it and said, in what capacity can I roll out some of the initiatives, some of the systems that I wish to touch humanity on a larger scale? And if I did that on an individual capacity, it would be tougher. So I believe in synergy. I believe that solving global problems, solving the problems, even in a Ibom state, cannot be an exclusive reserve of myself or anyone. It's a collective effort.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, top of my mind, the topics that pop up when I'm coming to approaching problems is synergy, network, the value system. So when we were looking at that, I said, if I want to leverage a wider network, I have to create a foundation. Of course, there'll be some, skepticism as to whether you're just one of those scams out there. Roll out, but you see, the thing with the heart is once it sees something genuine, it knows it.
Yeah.
Roll it out, touch lives, and then leverage on the extensive network that I have to build a value system that will touch life extensively, and it's been very progressive. Really.
All right, thank you. You're talking about yourself, and you, I think, intentionally have skipped to mention that you are the youngest. I was waiting for that line because, well, it's not something we get to see or hear every
Yeah.
day. So please, I don't want to be the one, so that it don't sound like I'm praising you. So please tell us. I am eager to hear, so I can also be motivated
Yeah,
to strive as hard as I want to, or as hard as I can get, to be the
absolutely.
youngest in something I
Yeah.
want to.
So, yes, without a doubt, at age 31, I met all the requirements required to become a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers.
I have a tiny bit of jealousy in my heart right now.
And, you know, at the time, I would say, there's an article I've written, and it's up on LinkedIn. I say, break the rules. Top people break the rules. Now, before now, the becoming a fellow was a product of how many years you spent as a member. Not even years on your profession, it's years as a member.
Oh wow.
So even if you're 30 years experience
Mm.
as an engineer, and you're only 5 years as a member of the NSC, Nigerian Society of Engineers, you won't get it.
Oh, okay.
But it took my humble self to ask myself, is the criteria time-based or value-based? And is that in sync with the rest of the world? Does that, uh, is that in parity with what is obtainable? Because engineering is not a Nigerian thing,
Yeah.
it's a global thing. And so when I rose and said, I think I have met the requirements to become a fellow, everyone said, they just asked me, how old are you? And I said, 31. They said, you're mad. You can't make it. Come back in about 20 years' time.
Yeah.
But I put a challenge to the fellowship board, and I said, give me, in objective terms, the requirements at the minimum level that you feel. Forget about the age, forget about the timeline.
Mm.
Give me what you think is required to be called a fellow. And let it be fairly reflective of what it would be if I went to become a fellow in the UK. And what was on my side at the time was that I was already qualified to be a chartered engineer. So with all that true, I was able to get there, and undoubtedly, overwhelmingly, every single member of that fellowship board agreed that not only am I qualified to become a fellow, despite my age, they also agreed that what I had done was to create what we call shaking the table. And I was able to shake the table to tell them that engineering has evolved. It's no more timeline based. Recognitions and appreciations are no more timeline based. They are value based.
Value based. All right. So very quickly now, we are searching into talking about other things that's
Yeah.
the basics of this conversation.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, let me start by asking you to tell us about the woman Sarah Enang.
Oh,
Yeah.
that brings a
Lots
lot
of
of
memories.
emotion.
That was what I wanted.
Yeah, this particular question, if I want to go on and on, it will be quite long, but I'll be very short now. Sarah now was, no, I'd like to use is my mom,
Always.
and she's late.
Mm.
Yeah, so she represented the average, I would say, middle class to upper class Nigerian. Did a lot of stuff to touch lives at a very individual level. That's what she did. And she gave to charity, she gave to orphanage, a lot. And she got ill and died. But before she died, we had kind of a very good exchange of words that would guide me for the rest of my life. And I remember when my mom called me and said she wanted to talk to me. And she said to me that she had three important mandates. And I was worried because, I wasn't sure what that meant, but making promises to someone that is dying, it could not be more serious than that. She said she had three important mandates. First, she said, take care of your siblings, education, take care of them, and your father. The next thing she said to me, she said, celebrate my life. I'm going at the tender age of 55, but just make sure that you celebrate me, cry less, be a man. In fact, she quoted 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 2, and said, I'm about to go the way of the earth, of all mortals. Celebrate me as I go. And then the last thing, she said, this is the most important thing I want to beg of you. I did a lot of good works. I touched a lot of people. I want you to do that and even more. And I looked up to her and I said, where on earth do you want me to get the finances? She said, just do it. God will bring helpers. And I then asked her, why are you putting such a burden on me as a person? She said that she's made peace with her Creator and she's ready to embark. My mom, an English student graduate from University of Uyo, she was always very euphemistic. She would not use the word die. She said, I'm ready to embark. But she said those were some of the things that God had revealed to her as part of what she needs to tell me before she died. As soon as she told me that I'm blessed every one of us, 7 hours after she passed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was. So here am I. I'm attempting. I call it an attempt because on my own alone I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm relying on a lot of support to touch humanity. I don't look at it that, oh, I'm trying to do this just for my mom's sake. No, it's my mom had spent time explaining further that this was not just about her. It was about the amount of blessings that God had brought with that particular, mandate that He gave to us. And for me, I would tell anyone that cares to hear, since starting, there's a lot of support that people have pledged to help out, voluntarily, donations, and I can actually see the blessings of God, and more so the fulfillment. I don't think I've been as fulfilled as I have starting this initiative. So that's who she is. That's how the idea came about. And it's something I'm really keen and very serious about.
Okay, so just before we talk about the aim and objective of the Sarah Enang Foundation, I'd love to ask you a very sensitive question, if you don't mind. So what's your most memorable memories of your mom while growing up? While growing up, not while dying.
No.
Growing up.
One of the most memorable time I had with my mom is, again, whilst in university. I remember telling my mom that, so my mom, first and foremost, I would like to say my mom knew a lot more about me than I ever knew about myself.
That's what most mothers do.
But what was special was that she lived a very prophetic life. It's almost like, it was almost like she was unraveling a script, which is her life, but she almost knew the end from the beginning. Um, my mom was someone. I mean, when I was in university, I remember crying to her and saying, I wanted to drop out of school. I had a tough one. I was sick for half a year and I couldn't catch up again. So I just thought, okay, drop out. And I actually had a perfection. My mom always told me perfection was the enemy to progress sometimes. And I said to her, Mommy, I think I'm doing badly. I've put in a mitigating circumstance, sorry, request, and the university has approved it. And that request says, this is the problem I had during school. I need some compassion, consideration, and then the university approves it and gives you. So the one they approved for me was go out of school for this year, take some time, recover, come back next year and start again, and we will ignore any score you had and assume that this year did not exist.
Okay.
And I thought I had it all covered. I came to my mother and I said, hey Mom, this is the proposal. And she looked at me and said, no, I'm not buying that proposal. And I said, I think the drive was get a 2-1 at least. I said, Mommy, I won't be on course, so if you don't allow me to do this. But through it all, she said no. The next thing she said, go get a 2-2 if you can. And I'll be the one to sponsor you again to go back to a first degree. And that didn't make sense. Why would you want to waste my time and then sponsor? And she told me frankly that the uncertainties of life could bring a lot, and could actually, so she told me, I'm alive, I can sponsor you. What if you drop out, I lose my job? What if you drop out and I die? So every single time, my mom's catchphrase was, every day brings us closer to the grave.
Yeah.
So there was that consciousness from my mom put into us that we must live today as if it's the last day. Do what you have to do. That's always what she said. That's what she stood for. She was that person that would hold your hands and say, I know you're going through tough times, but I'm going to go with you. I'm going to be there. That's, what the role that she played. And she was someone that would tell you, yes, there's a challenge, and yes, I know it's tough, but let's go. So we had very, very, very lovely memories. And she was very, very clear. See, my mom is a very decisive person. She's very decisive. I remember one of the days when she called me and said, you know what, I have enough and I'm contented and I can take care of myself at old age. And I said, what then do you want? To be happy as a mother? She said, do you know what I want? I want you to marry the right wife. She said, I want you to marry the right wife that will treat me in the right way. I don't need your money. I'll never ever need your money. But if you get the right person, then I'll be happy. No matter how long I live, I'll be happy. And that was one of the most important things that I looking at when I got married. So we had such a good time. We affected each other's decisions and life decisions. Yeah.
All right, so let's now move into the aims and objective of the Enang Humanitarian Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you look out for? What are some of those things that are paramount in your agenda as a foundation?
Mm-hmm. So the main focus of the Enang Foundation are the most vulnerable in the society. And in executing projects for them, I look at fairness. Am I being fair? Do I feel that there's a systematic approach, a non-subjective approach to reaching the most vulnerable? Now, top of my list are the children in the societies. Top of my list are women in the society. Top of my list are the less privileged who want to go to school, but they don't. I mean, you might say government has, some sort of support, but how can we also help from an individual level?
Yeah.
That's what touches my mind, because if you talk about children and students, if I catch them young, then I could potentially change the course of destiny for someone's life.
Okay, so far, what has the foundation done? That let's keep the the contest ongoing. Let's keep that aside, and let's talk about the things the foundation have done to make sure that the aims and objectives that were already laid out are already in place and pushing forward.
Okay, so we we're going to separate the developmental initiatives that are ongoing, right, and the actual execution that is ongoing. Now, when you look at, we're relatively very young, a foundation, but I'll tell you some of the works that are in play, which are going to be actualized. So, as I said earlier, top of my mind when it comes to execution of something that you dream to be big, I need partners. And right now, I can tell you that a lot of partners have pledged their support, and we're in the process of discussing the terms of those supports and the financing. Now, I have, the contest, as you said, is ongoing. There's also a scholarship initiative that has already, it's in its advanced stages of, we're putting up again, fairness. We had a meeting with the University of Uyo Student Union yesterday, leadership. And, again, the theme of that was, if you're giving scholarship, how do you make sure it's fair in terms of representations of the faculties? How do you make sure that people are getting on the basis of competence? Yeah, whether they say they need help, because someone could make up a story and tell you that they need help. So we need to be seen as being fair. Yeah, it's on the backdrop of that fairness that a lot of people would come and invest and say, okay, I see you have a fair structure, I see what you've done, I would also sponsor XYZ amount of students. Yeah, so that's fundamental for us. We have already started, as I said, with the partnership thing. And then this Christmas, I am planning, something to be able to do an outreach. How am I going to celebrate my Christmas? I'm going to celebrate my Christmas with those people that wouldn't otherwise be able to celebrate theirs. So there's already an outreach by the foundation, both to touch the rural areas, yeah, by giving them what to cook, and also to cook, get a truck and a van, and go across and share this and see people smile. You go around, people can't eat, So instead of looking at who is to blame, is it the people or the government, you look at, let's contribute our own quota. The foundation, that's what we stand for. It's basically, what can we do? So those initiatives are in plan. And I tell people, since it's at this point in time, if you're looking at, in terms of a business scale, we're calling this, you've had the idea, we're calling it concept validation. People want to see, okay, what's that implementation? How disciplined are they? It's personal funds. And I tell people, yes, it's small, but the structure and the mindset behind it, it's everything, because you see that, okay, this is what these people are trying to do. And then, of course, once you've seen that and you're impressed, you come on board and see how best you can also add. Humanity problem can't be solved by one person.
Yes, that's very important and true. All right, so let's talk about the grant contest. Now, going through social media this evening, I stumbled on that information, and as interesting as it may sound, a lot of persons would want to. In fact, given the opportunity, I am going to contest as well. Yes, because I have business ideas and it's funding. Okay, so let's talk about that. What's the brain behind that contest, and then how can every other person who is interested in it participate in it?
Okay, so the idea behind the contest is a simple one. First, it creates an avenue for people to get funding or free grants for their businesses.
They don't have to pay back
No,
after
they
a couple
don't
of
have to.
times.
They don't have to.
Okay.
And on top of that, I have a group of friends, including myself, for the right ideas. I will also put up a good offer of an equity investment. Now, you can take it or you can leave it. In addition to the funding, yeah, the equity investment is there because I do recognize that some people could say, whatever money you've put forward is just going to help me for advertising. And if they sell through, they might say, we also need money to scale the business across different locations. And then it might require additional investments. Of which case, so first it allows you to compete. Next, I see this as an ecosystem of SME ideas. Yeah? And my private contacts, when they get involved, they'll be able to see one or two businesses they can assist because it's all in that space. Okay? They can see one or two businesses that they feel okay. So even if you participate and you don't win, that same space, yes, I will put it out there and say, contacts, this is what some young people in my locations are doing. See what you can do in terms of adding value. And that's something that could potentially attract people, and then you can negotiate your funding. Now, if you think about how are we rolling this out, first is the awareness. Put it out there, invite people to comment and like. But that's not the sole basis because we know people can use auto like.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, there's another stage to it. We're going to create a sort of a show where you sit, it could be live or recorded, and then you're grilled by experts within the state who work. They're working under the same business conditions that you're going to be working in. They know it in out. I'll be part of that panel. You pitch your business to them and they will tell you, they will score your business plan.
So in other words, it's dependent on the fact that if you are bringing a business proposal, you should be able to defend it.
Absolutely. Okay. And top on our minds is scalability. Is it scalable? What's your price point? Is it acceptable for the versus your competitors? What's your what's the plan for what sort of footprint, social footprint does your business represent? Yeah, and is it a business that is sustainable? Those are some of the things that we're going to be looking at in evaluating the businesses. So it is fair for people to come in, and I welcome as many people as possible. And apart from, so the way we're going to do it is we're going to try, while at the pitching stage where you pitch your business out, we will try and get that through a lot of multimedia channels to make sure that people, most importantly, that those businesses have visibility.
And possible investors.
Correct. Okay. So I tell every contestant, put together a strong case. It's not just for the competition. I have contacts, and what I'm trying to do is to put out a connection between those that need and my contacts that have. But we need to bring the case away from the compassionate standpoint where you're saying, please, I need money. You're begging, to where you create value. There's something on the table that is investable. And then someone says, let me make you an offer. So that's where it is. And so every contestant will get visibility. It's not just about the prize.
Apparently, it's not just about the prize, and it's not the regular kind of pitch your idea competition where you just have to talk and then collect the money and go. And 6 months into it, nobody has seen you, nobody has heard about you. You're totally into oblivion. So now, are there plans for mentorship for whoever wins?
Absolutely, there are plans to mentor. And I am actually working on that. If you go to my private LinkedIn page, I'm actively working on ensuring that I get the right mentors. We create some sessions, incubation sessions, where we talk to the winners, and even of course every other person. Because for me, it's I tune into the adage that says that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that makes all the difference. So for me, yes, we have plans to create, mentorship programs to look at it, and even the businesses that don't win, we'll be checking up on them.
So far we've been talking about the things the foundation intends to do for everyone. Now let's focus a little bit on entrepreneurs, because we're trying so hard to diversify. We're trying to make young people move away from being the regular civil service kind of lifestyle into entrepreneurs and all of that. How does your foundation intend to fit in these um, these visions to make sure that we have people who are entrepreneurs who are also flowing well?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, if you look at the eco space, we have certain things. Now, first problem I tell people, when people talk about entrepreneurship, they said money, money, money. And I have done this so many times. I give people the exact money they've asked for, and I say, go meet your projections. And that's where everything falls apart. And so you find out that the government will give out money. In some cases, there will be money for business funding from other entities. But the actual business itself is not executed properly. And people say, well, the Nigeria, but of course, it's like living in Lagos and saying, I'm going to plan my life and movement in Lagos. You don't factor in traffic.
That's not possible.
you must be serious.
That's not possible.
So basically, this is me saying, what are the frictional points on the business value chain? Money is one thing. So I'm not going out there to say, oh, I'm going to give you 10 million and all that. That money is just a part of it. Now we now have value for money concept is another part of it. Right? Are you putting what precedes your business decisions? Is it based on passion or based on profit making and business fundamentals? We have to be very careful. Because you talk to a lot of people and they're like, I want to do it because why do you want to do this business? I'm a lady, I know what ladies like. Have you done market survey? No, I'm a lady, I already know what ladies want. And that really gets me on the edge as to whether that business has some basic elements to survive. What the foundation has set out to do is give in the financial support, but that's just one bit of it. But groom people to be able to make business fundamental decisions. Groom people that will be able to think of their business using what I like to say a worst case scenario under the Nigerian conditions. Don't go and use a best case scenario where you say, well, if everything works well and the government makes this policy, I'll make 1,000 bags of, sell 1,000 bags of whatever I'm producing. That is very, very an optimistic model. And your assumptions is just as good as the assumptions holding through. Once the assumptions fell flat, it's all gone. So think about this, that apart from the funding, which I'm not even worried, the funding will increase by the time people feel this is something trusted we can be part of. It's rolling out a systematic approach within which businesses can be incubated. So businesses that want to be sustainable can be incubated, and by the time they come out of the other path of the the tunnel, they are fit to survive the Nigerian system. Because I have seen people bring businesses. I'll give you an example. In this day and time, you are telling me you want to sell a recharge card, and your recharge card is the paper type. I have no bias, but I just have problem with the timing. What should have been valid about 15 years ago is what you're bringing to be right now. And I've actually turned to some of them and said, you know what, if you lack business idea, why not just buy palm oil and keep in April and resell in December? You will make double your money. I mean, it's as simple as that. We have to ask ourselves, what is the opportunity cost of this business we are putting forward? The opportunity cost model for value creation has to be there. What would I have rather done with this money? And what is so? It's not just passion driven. You run a business based on passion. You're not making any profit, and here is somebody buying oil and keeping somewhere and making double profit. You have to ask yourself, if opportunity cost drives that business decision, maybe you should be doing something else.
All right, so having heard all of the things that you have done and the ones that I installed, now let's talk about the challenges your foundation has faced because, well, as much as we love to argue, the truth is every single person would definitely face challenges at some point in their lives. So what are some of those challenges that you have faced as a foundation? Notable that you are an NGO, which means you do not receive funding from the government or
Absolutely.
from anybody.
I don't make profit.
You don't make profit as well, so it's not a business venture.
Yeah. Very important question, and I'll tell you what has worked for us. Yeah. As an NGO, putting this forward, it's been from my pocket, initially, and it's still so. But some promising offers are coming in. The biggest challenge I would say is this just first and foremost, is this a gimmick? We have had over the coronavirus period, we've had a lot of scams come up, and is this just one of it?
Yeah.
Right? The next question is, are they on the path of sustainability, or is this just for political reasons? That's the first question. But you see, up until now that I speak to you, it was a lot of people who are even beneficiaries of what the foundation has actually done up until now did not know who is the face behind the foundation. But I did it that way intentionally because I wanted the fulfillment of the foundation's pledge to the people, and to be what speaks for us.
Yeah.
Then you now know the face, and that gives you some comfort.
Okay.
So rolling out some contests, we've also given out some support to people that need help. Like we've asked people, what do you think you can do with a certain amount of money, and they'll say, okay, this is what you can help me do. We look for the most credible ones, and then internally, volunteers will look at it, cast a vote, and we now know who we're putting our support there for. Those little activities go to give us credibility that, okay, this foundation say this and they fulfill their pledge. Yeah. Now, sequel to this video, people would now say, okay, not only do we have a foundation that has started small, but they've started credibly small, right? In a credible way. They also have a known name behind this. It's a killer.
You know the thing with having a known name with it now, like I said before we started, I had read a lot about you.
Yeah.
I had by virtue of sitting somewhere, I have listened to you talk about certain things, a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next question I want to ask is, how do you intend to deal with people who will come up with, oh, it's a political stunt, he's vying for an office, and the next time, once he gets the office, all of this is out?
Okay. So, first and foremost, I am not vying for any office.
You don't even intend to?
I have no intentions whatsoever at this point in time. And I will say so because before I go on to your question, my view about leadership is not me saying I want to be your leader. It fundamentally doesn't sit well with me. My view about leadership is that you see that amongst all of you, I'm the one who has the vision, I have the execution imperative to take us to that next level. And then you're forced to say, Dr. Enang, we feel that we actually need you because you're the man that will take us here. That's what leadership is about. And that comes with loyalty. So I'm not intending to go out there and say, hey, as from today, I want to be your leader. There's something that doesn't just sit with
Said
me.
well, yeah.
Yeah. It has to be at the back end of value. Now, will I consider where value has been demonstrated and people feel, okay, it's demonstrated value, we think on a larger scale we can do that. That's a discussion we can have on a separate ground. But for now, the focus is to serve people. That's my focus. Now, as to the foundation, if I wanted this foundation to just be about me, then I would never have created a system. And when I told you there was a tripartite relationship where we have partners, we create a value framework, and of course the funding that we're looking at and the objectives and goals that govern us. So when you look at that, the partnerships, the value framework allows this to power itself. I don't intend, I told you that I have validated excellence on a personal level. Now it's time to roll it out on the platform to see many more excellence being produced. And I can't do that on my own. It doesn't rest with me. And more so, remember, this foundation is coming at the backdrop of immortalizing what someone had, already done. So for me, is something that I want to outlive her and outlive myself. It's not just come here and it dies the next minute, no. So we're taking a very sustainable approach to ensure that any initiative we put forward has a systematic approach that it can run, with or without me.
All right. So in wrapping this up, I'd love to hear your thoughts, as a sort of advice to the Nigerian youths, especially the ones in Akwa Ibom, as concern one, leadership, two, entrepreneurship, and then maybe three, life.
Okay, so my view about all those are very connected. Yeah. It is not, I would like to say, it is not mistaken that you find that, for example, some of the big leaders in the world away from here are incubated in certain institutions, right? You find that they are product of certain institutions. In the tech world, you know where they've come from, right? So, for me, leadership is something that is not just a one-off. I'd say to the Akwa Ibom people, it's continuous development, continuous leadership, and vision. Being a visionary is just the same, different sides of the same coin. So I would say to the Akwa Ibom youth, occupy yourself productively. Let value become a fundamental word in how you do whatever you do. And ensure that you're intentional about that value creation. Leadership will come natural. When you create value,
It'll come to you.
if we're a group of 10 people and we're looking for who is going to read the compass and navigate us to the mountain, and you notice that, despite the fact you don't like me, you know that I'm the only one that can read that compass. It's natural for you to say, oh, well, sorry, I don't agree with you, but come and lead us. That's what it should be about.
Yeah.
And if you have not reached that point, then perhaps you have not shown enough of your value. I shouldn't be coming to say, I know the way, no, it must be me. I should create it, and then people say, no, this one should be the one to lead us. He sees the way. Now, the second thing I would like to talk to people about leadership is your network is your net worth.
Your network is your net worth.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
So when you're talking about leadership, the strength of your, they say, there's a saying from a movie I watched, it says that a wise king will listen to his counsel of his, elders or friends or whatever and follow his heart. Your network, how rich is it, will determine the kind of leader you are. If you have a network, because when the rubber hits the ground, you will leverage on that network to solve problems. I'll give you an example. If you're a leader, and I say this very boldly, if you're a leader who is just a local champion in your area, and you have no credibility on a national and international scale. When it comes to getting the attention, for example, of the federal government for shared resources and attention, which is really, really scarce, they will talk to more. I mean, just think about it. Let's just think about it. You're trying to get the president's attention. And they know you, they have other, they have a lot of representatives from different regions. And you're the one that is known as a local champion, that drunk. It's not a serious problem. Let's not even deal with him. Do you think, apart from the fact that you are entitled in terms of constitution, naturally you're the last person the president wants to see? Yes,
yeah, that's true.
I'm just giving you an example, not saying it has
true.
occurred. So you must understand that when you're talking about leadership, you must grow yourself to a credible point where, this guy is waiting. Let's please, I need to see him right now. You have to grow yourself. It's not just about carrying, weapons and trying to say I'm a warlord. When it comes to sitting on the table, articulating a sensible conversation and getting something for your people, if you are unable to do, you come back to your constituents and say, sorry, I couldn't get anything. Oh, I couldn't even see the man. But that's why. So we have grown, and you have to understand, again, I keep saying, when I talk about leadership, I could keep talking and talking, because leadership, the world is moving away from where you just get economic rents. I have oil, and I'm selling it and getting economic rent. The world is moving away from where wealth is created between an interplay between leverage from the government and the private sector. So it's all about, what is your base like in terms of, have you built the necessary contacts to help the majority of people who are going to be driving who are going to be driving SME initiatives? Because not everybody can work for an oil company. Do you have the right contact? Do you have, for example, it will be a bonus if you're a leader, right? And you have access to contacts within the World Bank Group, for example, or African Development Bank Group, that can say, okay, we're going to put away such funding for businesses in your states. That's what it is. There's a difference between that leader and someone who exactly is just a local champion and emerges a leader. You will just be waiting for economic rent. We've moved away from that. Our population growth alone is unsustainable with economic rents. So that's, when I talk about leadership, I tell people, if you're planning to be a leader, please develop yourself, because the problems of tomorrow, which are going to be tougher than this, will necessitate a balance between the economic rents, which are fast dwindling, with value creation. That's what it is. That's where we are headed.
Thank you so much. I was immersed in everything you were saying, and I was feeling like I was on, one of those lectures you receive when you're like, lost in thought. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you for all the thoughts you have shared on everything.
Thank you.
Now, everyone would know that not everybody does the job of everybody. One person cannot do the job of everyone. So we have Enang Humanitarian Foundation joining hands with the state government and with other well-meaning individuals to help move the world forward and take us away from where we have to beg for survival to where we are independent on our own stand, make decisions, and we can afford our lifestyle without creating problem for the person next door. It's been a pleasure to sit here as your host. My name is Smart Adams. Until next time, God bless you.